So what I have here is a circuit that shows the basics of the burglar alarm. Okay. I have an ultrasonic sensor I'm going to use as though it's like a laser beam, an invisible laser across a doorway. Okay. I have a speaker wired directly because I'm not really worried about how loud it is. I want it to be loud. It's a burglar alarm. Okay. I'm not worried about them going, turn it down. Nope. Okay. I have an indicator light, which is right here, an alarm light. Think of this like a siren going, or one of those spinning type sirens going off. That light, it will be flashing in the room when the alarm is going off. That's just an output I decided to use. I've got a switch. This is my arm and disarm switch. Okay. And I've also got an RGB LED that I have connected. And instead of using the RGB LED block to code colors, I'm just going to use the default red and the default green by turning those pins either high or low when I want to show a color. Okay, so that's the thought process that I have. Now, one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to verify what my starting position is. Okay. So I'm going to click off of code. I'm going to click start simulation, and currently it's going to do nothing. Okay. You'll notice that that switch is on what I'm going to call the orange side, because you notice I have green and orange wires. Okay. The orange wire goes to pin 2. The green wire goes to pin 3. Okay. If I change the position of the switch, stop the simulation, start it again. Okay. My switch does stay in that same point, so you can decide which one you want to use, but I believe it starts to the right. So I'm going to use the right as the alarm is disarmed, okay, as in it's not currently working. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a variable, okay? And when I click create variable, there's a couple of things I can't do, okay? Do not use the variable switch. Switch is actually a command in the base code, the text-based code that we use, okay? Some people have already had that problem where you use that as a variable and it's trying to do the command, not the variable, okay? Also, you cannot put a space or special characters in. So if you want to use like a 2-word phrase to be the variable, you got to smash them together, and you can use capital letters, okay? So alarm armed is the one I'm going to start with. Hit OK, and that's my variable. Okay. The reason I'm starting with a variable is because I am going to start next with an if-then, and this is going to set my variable. Okay. And my test is going to be the switch. Okay. And it's going to be, I'm going to have to use the inequality one. I want an equals. And then I'm going to need the high-low. And then I'm going to trace my pin. So my orange wire goes to pin 2. So input, read digital pin 2. Okay. So if pin 2 is high, then set alarm armed to 0. Now, here's the beautiful part. I'm just going to duplicate this whole thing. I'm going to change pin 2 to pin 3 and change the number to 1. Okay? So now I've got 2 commands out of setting up 1. All right? So if you think about just alarm armed, it's 0 or off when pin 2 is high or hot. Okay? And if I switch it to green, then pin 3 will be hot. So now I can start to decide, okay, well, what do I want to happen when the alarm is off? And I'm on purpose going to set that one up first. So again, I'm going to get an if-then. I'm going to look at math. I'm going to use the equal sign. Okay? If it equals 0, and what is it that needs to equal 0? It is this one. Okay? So if that is equal to 0, one of the things I want to have happen is I want this LED to glow green, okay? So the green leg is pin 11. So my output is that set pin 11 to high, okay? Now I'm going to grab this and duplicate it, because why not? And if this is armed, I want it to set pin 13, which is my red connected pin. That's why I color-coded my wires. And I want it to do that if armed is equal to 1. Now, the other thing I have to do is I have to undo the opposite one. Because if I do this right now, start this simulation, believe, yep, it's green. And now if I go this way, it turns yellow. Because what I've done is I've taken green and added red to it, and that, for whatever reason, in this LED gives you yellow. I'd ask if that makes sense, but it doesn't really. Okay? So we're going to stop it. So what we need to do is we now need to do the opposite. So if I duplicate just this one and set it to low, and then I'm going to pull that off, set this to low, and put that in there. So right now it's doing the colors. Okay? Start my simulation. Okay? Currently it's green. Now it's red. Now it's green. Now it's red. Okay? So that's how that goes back and forth. So now I'm going to continue and start to add components. One of the ways that I would definitely recommend chopping this up is by do some, make sure it works. Okay? Right now I can tell that my alarm armed variable is controlling that light. Well, now I need to do it. Now I need to do other things. Okay? So one of the things I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to grab an if-then and put it inside. Okay? So if this is true, it changes the lights. And now I'm going to do another test. Okay? Here's where I'm actually going to compare the distance here to what I want to see. So as I go into math, I'm going to grab my math variable. I'm going to grab my input of read ultrasonic sensor. Obviously, this will move down, so I'm not covering that up. Okay? I'm going to set it up so my trigger pin, as I've wired it, is 4 and echo is 5. So 4 and 5 is less than 36. So that means if this number is equal to or greater than 36, this if-then won't continue. But as soon as it is less than 36, here's what's going to happen. Okay? I'm going to make a second variable. Okay? There's a reason I'm making the second variable that I'll show you in a few minutes. Okay? And I'm just going to call it sound alarm. Okay? Obviously, something that is not a command in the base code. Okay? And when that happens, I am going to set the sound alarm to 1. Okay? Fun fact, if I disarm the alarm, I would want the alarm to go off. I would not want it to continue to make sounds. So one of the things I'm doing is the reason I left space here is that when I disarm the alarm, I also want to set this variable to 0. Okay? And now I can help decide. If this happens, okay, what do I now want to do? Move this up, move down a little bit. So if, and I'm just going to grab this one real quick because it's got a lot of the setup already done. And I'm going to throw the middle stuff away. And all I have to do is replace the variable. If sound alarm equals 1, now I can start to think about, well, what do I want to have happen? Okay? Well, if this equals 1, I want the speaker to play, and I want this light to flash. And I'm fine if they actually do those at the same time. It makes my coding a little easier. Okay, so my speaker is on pin 8. So I am going to play speaker for 1 second on pin 8. I am going to turn the LED on, which is on pin 9. Set pin 9 to high. I am going to wait for 1 second. That's fine. I'm going to duplicate that series. I'm going to turn this to low. And I am going to turn off speaker on pin 8. I'm going to take this out and put that back there. Okay. So I've now got, if the alarm sounds, this is what happens. Okay. If I start this simulation, you'll notice light is green. Green means go. You can go in the room. Okay. I'm going to just click on this, and based on where it is currently set, it is okay. I could take this down to make it exactly 36, or basically really close if I wanted to. I'm going to arm the alarm. And currently the only thing that changes is that this light turns to red, as it should. If I then get too close, and one of the reasons I did this, I'm going to disarm this, okay, which you'll notice does kill this. But some of you who are watching closely also saw I moved this back, so I was no longer under 36. And the reason I do it this way is because what I don't want for a practical working burglar alarm is for the person to just pass through the doorway and the alarm to only sound while they're in the doorway. Okay? That is why I use this second variable. Okay? Because anybody who thinks, oh, I can just shortcut that by saying, if this happens, blink the light, sound the alarm. Well, what happens as soon as that is not true anymore? It stops. Okay? So you want to make sure this does it. The other thing that's really cool is if you were to expand this burglar alarm. For example, you added a second sensor like this. Instead of being across the doorway, it's across the window. Okay? Whether they came in the door or whether they came in the window, you'd want the alarm to behave the same. Okay? So you could also have a second, actually what would happen, just to show you in case you decide to go a little bit above and beyond, is I would duplicate this, put it right after it, and I could tell you a different sensor breaks a different variable, the result is still the same. Okay? So that could be done already, and that's how I could expand this to actually include multiple sensors. So as you look, this is what is necessary. Okay? I have my armed and disarmed that work up here. When the alarm is armed, this happens. When the alarm is not armed, this happens. The only way that the alarm sounds is if we set the sound alarm variable to 1. Okay? That is here. Okay? And you'll notice it's inside of the alarm being armed. By being inside of it, this only happens when the alarm is armed. If you take this if-then and bring it outside, anytime the sensor goes less than 36 inches, actually, and that was my problem, is I had this set to centimeters, so I had to get it really close. It's supposed to be set to inches, sorry, 36 inches. Anytime I come inside 36 inches, even whether the alarm is armed or not, the alarm would go off. And that's not what we want. That's why we have the structure that we needed here. So this works if you were to hook this up all the exact same way, or if you hooked up different pins to different things, this basic concept will help you build your program. Okay? Don't copy mine block for block. Make sure yours works with yours.